right, what is going on, everybody? I hope you're doing well. Today we are checking out the Friedman IRD dual tube preamp. Now I know at first glance this looks like it would be like a 2-channel overdrive stomp box, but it is indeed not that. It's a high voltage tube preamp. So it's got two 12AX7s in this thing, and it does run high voltage. I want to say in like the 200 range. So, you can plug a 9 volts adapter into it or power supply, but it charge pumps up, or I don't know what the magic is, but it runs like proper tube voltage. So those tubes are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. So, I mean, essentially this could be like a rack preamp at the end of the day. So, as I mentioned, it's an all-tube preamp. It has 2 channels. This one is based on David's amp called the Dirty Shirley, but more specifically, the twin sister, and we'll get into why. I did demo the IRX. It's been 6 or 7 months ago. That one was more based on, I want to say, the BE100 Deluxe. This one is more along the lines of the Dirty Shirley, and I own both those amps, and they're both ridiculously accurate. So you've got, as I mentioned, this amazing sounding tube preamp with 2 channels, but you also can employ a digital back end on it that allows you to have amp simulation as well as cab simulation. And we'll get into that in the demo as well. Let's get right into what's on top of it. As I mentioned, both these channels are exactly the same. You can switch between them. So what you've got is from right to left, you have your gain. That's obvious. It's your amount of gain. You've got a tone stack, bass, middle, and treble. We'll get into how those sound in the demo. You have your volume for the channel. And then on the very left, you have a boost volume. And essentially that becomes kind of a master volume for the channel. You can make it so it just guns the channel louder, or it can actually have a little bit of gain to it. There's a couple little potentiometers on the side of the pedal that allow you to adjust how much gain. So if you just wanted it to be dead clean as far as a volume boost, you could just turn those down. I didn't touch these. I left them where they were because I thought they sounded really great, but that's how that works. You have 3 sets of switches on the channel. All the way over to the right is your gain structure switch. So in the center, I'll call that your least amount of gain. If you put the switch down, it's going to change the gain structure, and you're going to get a little bit more gain as well as low end, or at least that's what I perceived. And then in the very up position is the most amount of gain. And we'll get into how that sounds. It's very, very useful. Next to that is a toggle switch that's essentially a tight switch. So when it's in the upper position, it's going to sound tighter. You're going to have a little bit more of like an upper mid focus and a little bit less lows, so it'll be tighter. If you want it to be fatter, then throw the switch down, and you're going to get a way more spread out low end and not quite as much mid focus. So that's going to be great for, like a single coil guitar. I definitely employed that with that blue Strat. That Tyler I was using came in really handy. Over on the left side of the channel, you have a 3-way toggle switch. This one allows you to choose between the loaded cabinets that come with the box. Those aren't your only choices, but if you're a guy like me and just want to bang through 3 cabs, this is killer. In the center, I believe it's the 1960 green cab. When it's down, it's the DS 1x12 cab, which is more like an open back. And then when it's all the way up, that one's going to be based on 6402 cab. All 3 of them sound great. I tended to just leave those switches in the center, but we'll get into how they sound in the demo. Now, you can take advantage of the software that you can download. So within that software, it's going to allow you to toggle through quite a few more cabinets that are available, as well as load your own IRs, which is really cool. You can choose between, channels, your boost, your loop bypass, even your IR bypass. You can look at the, and we'll get into this in the demo, but you can look at the power amp sim side of it and change the presence and essentially depth or thump settings. We'll check that out. All of that's programmable. The pedal is MIDI, which is killer. So you can either be a guy like me where you just try to be as analog as possible, but take advantage of what's on the back end of this pedal, or you can go nuts and open up that editor and do your thing with that. So you can choose between the two channels. Obviously, you have a foot switch for channel 1, you have a foot switch for channel 2, and then you have your boost that can be applied to either channel. Now there's other settings like, on the channel 2 switch, you can use that to bypass the loop. Channel 1, you can use that to bypass the IRs if you want to do that, as well as in the software. And then the boost allows you also to store. So if there's something you want to store, you can do it either from the software or you can do it from the pedal. So that's really cool. On the back of the pedal, you have an input. You have an effects loop send and return. That does sound great. I won't be employing it for this demo, but it does sound really good. And you have a balanced out. So essentially, it's going to be a tip ring sleeve or TRS output. Right now I'm running straight out of it into my quartet via TRS to XLR. So that's how you're hearing it. Next to that's a ground lift. You do have a headphone out, which is great if you just want to rock the free world and not bug anybody. As I mentioned, it has your MIDI input and you have a USB out, so that you can access the software. And then last but not least is your adapter, 9 to 12 volts, I believe. For that, I just used the adapter that came with it, and it worked great. So let's check out the Friedman IRD dual tube preamp. All right, let's check out the IRD. I'm going to leave everything at noon as far as the bass, mid, and treb goes, and we'll just kind of go from there. Okay, so just goofing around, going through the various gain structure settings, tweaking the EQ a little bit. We'll get into that a little bit deeper. Messing around with this tight switch. Thing sounds great. And then, of course, I bumped between the three cabinets that you have available. Obviously, I didn't switch channels because they're both the same channel. So I'll get you guys dialed in on how it works on the one channel, and then maybe do an example of how I would set it up. But let's start with, since I mentioned it, the gain structure switch, and we'll go from there. So in the center, I'll go ahead and leave the tight switch up. So in the center, it's the cleanest it's going to be. So you can get it really clean. You know, you might want to run more volume if you want it super clean. Keep the gain down. And it's just a really sweet, chimey. Really sweet, just kind of chimey, clean sound. So, I mean, that could be your bass line, and then you switch to channel 2 for everything else. But that's a structure switch there. The next available, I should say, the next highest gain would be down. Now, you're not only getting more gain, but there is some more low-end presence there. So definitely more lows. You could roll that out. So that's going to be better for like the classic rock thing. But it'll still clean up. Back the guitar off. And then the highest gain is going to be in the up setting. Quite a bit more saturation there, right? And that sounds great. That feels really good. I'll go ahead and just turn the gain all the way up. Okay, so I also showed you how that boost works. Essentially, it's a master volume. It's going to raise everything. It is adding a little bit of gain. You can adjust that on the side, but per channel, but I just left it where it is because I think it sounds great. But that's what the boost is doing. That's how much gain you have. That's the, you know, as far as the way it's styled in that upper setting on that structure switch, that's the most gain you're going to get. I'm going to leave it in the down position. Let's listen to this bright and tight switch. So when it's up, it does exactly as you think. It's tighter. It adds mids, but it's kind of more like a higher mid, a brighter mid, more tight and focused. Down. It's more low end. It's a little bit more spread out low end, not as articulate necessarily in the mids, though you could dial more mids in. But that type of setting is excellent, especially for single coil guitars. But it's to each his own. I liked it in the up position using humbuckers, in the down position, like when I was using that Strat for the performance, and it worked really well. But that's what that's doing. And the cab switch will just bump through the 3 onboard cabinets. I could be wrong, but I think the switch in the center is actually the 1960 green cab. Down is the that little DS 1x12, I think 1973 is what it's called. And then I think in the upper position is the 6402 cab. So we'll just listen to them really quick. Here's what's in the center, and this one's my favorite. Here's the cab in the up position. Way more string and paper there for sure. It sounds great. Here's back to the center. Now I'll go to the down position, which is the 1x12 cab. That cab, obviously, it's a 1x12. It's got a mid focus, not as much lows. It sounds great too. That's the cab I'd probably use on the other side of the mix, you know, that kind of thing. But that's what's going on with the cabinets. You can obviously go in via the software and, you know, open up the editor and you can see which cabs are what. So the green cab is essentially in the center, and then the 6402 is up. The DS 1x12 is down. Now you can go through a bunch of other cabinets. We won't do that here, but you've got a bunch of cabs that you can choose from within the software that sound really great, as well as load your own IRs. So you know what, while I've got the software open, there's a bunch of other cabs in there you can check out. You can load your own IRs. You can program different things within the software. So while I'm in here, you can, within the power amp simulation, you can choose between two settings, thump and presence. I like them in the center, but I'll let you hear what's going on. So we're on channel 1, and I'll just do the thump switch. It's basically manipulating the low end, just like you would globally on like an amplifier. So all the way to the right is the most low end, all the way to the left is the least amount of low end, and then I like it in the center. That's how I recorded it. So that's how that's working. That's a really nice feature. It's programmable, which is awesome. Now we can also look at the presence. That does exactly what you think. I recorded the whole thing within in the center, but yeah, check this out. Check this out. To the right. All the way to the left. And in the center. I kind of like both of them, just in my opinion. In the center, I really like that green cab. That thing sounds great. So that's programmable between the two channels. You can obviously program it to switch channels. You can program that boost on and off that I showed you. You can program the loop bypass if you wish, and you can also bypass the IR depending on how you're using it. So I'm not going to go deep into the software, but that's how all of that's working, and it comes in quite handy for the tweaker. I tend to just like leave things where they are. So what did I miss on this? Anything? No, I didn't. So what I'm going to do is dial it. Let's dial the channel 1. I'm going to dial it to be a little bit cleaner, but not super clean. You know what I didn't do? EQ. So let's do that really quick. Treble off. Treble all the way up. Mids off. Mids all the way up. Those mids have some bark, but there is some top end that comes in there as well. But you can hear how if you start at noon, you'll get your sound. Here's the bass off. Bass all the way up. So it can get pretty pillowy. Okay, so I like the bass about neutral. I like the mids where they are too. Honestly, this is a good start. I like it in the tight setting for this. Okay, so I'm going to dial that channel that way. Let's go to channel 2 and see what's already happening. Okay, it's already got the gain structure that I want. The switch is in the up position. I'm going to stick with the middle cab. I'm going to roll some lows out. I'm going to add some gain. Okay, so there you go. I can switch straight from like a really pretty, nice sounding clean that I can boost to essentially my overdrive. Higher gain, but it'll back off. Cool. So that is the IRD. If you've got any other questions about this thing, please go to the website and check it out. I think it sounds really cool. And as always, I really appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you on the next one.